Okay, so I think that the most successful aspect of our creative audio research project was definitely the aesthetic of our piece and how it sounded, and how we created that. So we used multiple layers of echoey and whispery voiceovers, as well as layers of talking and providing information, as well as background music and various sound effects. This created a mysterious and eerie horror type of feel, aiming to be similar to what listening to a crime podcast would be like. I found this to be the most successful aspect as it fulfilled our intentions of what we wanted it to sound like aesthetically. And it also kept me as a listener intrigued in how the piece would progress, whilst giving a somewhat calming and relaxing feel. The most problematic aspect would either be initially figuring out what we kind of wanted it to sound like, what sort of feel would best fit our audio piece, and what would fit in most with like the information and the themes that we were trying to get across to our audience. Whilst initially deciding on keeping it more lighthearted and funny and more kind of what a comedy podcast would feel like, with the more research we did, we found out that the impacts of monetization on YouTubers and content creators was rather more so a negative impact. We had to modify our sound and aesthetic to match the type of information that they were putting across, although a challenge ended up working out quite perfectly. This audio project really brought to light the massive impact of demonetization that it had on creators on YouTube, and the way it can impact the type of content they put out in order to fit in with the type of content that YouTube wants to show and wants to push out. This meant filtering out lots and lots of content through the rules and regulations that they make. With one of these rules that YouTube makes is surrounding the theme of copyright. The concept of copyright has much been discussed throughout this course, particularly in line with our weekly vlogs that we did a lot of at the start of the course. Just like how there is, you know, so much content such as music that we weren't allowed to include in our vlogs, is the same for the large creators on YouTube, and what sort of content results in the demonetization of their videos. And to avoid this, many creators need to alter their content in order to fit in with the set rules that YouTube makes and what YouTube wants to push out. I think that the most important affordance of our creative audio research project was creating the perfect balance between the many layers of audio that we had in this piece. This meant being aware of the levels of volume when recording different parts of the audio, so mostly the speaking parts, where, you know, a group member was speaking, and the kind of balance of what that kind of echoey whisper wanted to be versus our speaking voices. This was also in the editing of the imported music or sound effects that we used. And one way we achieved this was when we did the recording, we all used high quality microphones and had them adjusted to the same levels. So when we were recording, we ensured that all the audio was of a good quality across the board and was adjusted to the same volume level. The most vital thing that I learned in this process about collaboration whilst working on this creative audio research project was breaking our topic into different subcategories to get more of a richer and deeper understanding of the various aspects of how monetization on YouTube affected creators, and particularly in the different ways can be negative. So each group member looked at a different thing in regards to our larger topic. This did enable us as a group to share the workload around, and through each having our own parts to work on and looking at our own different aspects, we had the ability to delve deeper into that certain part of our research, and also in communicating with each other how we were going to tie in all the different parts to flow nicely throughout the audio piece. Some feedback that our group received from our peers in the week 8 presentation of our rough cuts is that our piece was somewhat lacking the texture and the types of voices that we were using. We only had really with voices the parts of us speaking and telling the information, and the whisper like echo voiceovers that was used. And in light of that response, we took on the feedback of adding some snippets and some clips of famous YouTubers alongside the examples of the particular topics that we were discussing in our piece. So this included adding clips of well-known YouTubers such as Logan Paul, PewDiePie, Glamour Gore, which I feel made our piece more appealing and engaging for the listener.